Oh my gosh, guys, welcome back to #baggage. This is episode 2 of season 1, and I'm just really excited for what we're about to unpack today. But before I get into that, I want to thank all of you so much for your words of encouragement, for watching the video, for sharing the video, for liking, for commenting. Like, it really does mean a lot to me. And yeah, just like thank you. So yeah. All right. Let's unpack. Let's just unpack, okay? This is a story all about how I found my dad on Facebook. I don't know, when you're bored, you just get like these random ideas. So I got the random idea to just Google myself, because you know how they always tell you you want to be mindful of what you're putting out on the internet. You want to be mindful with your reputation on the internet, what it says about you. And so I just wanted to Google myself and see what came up. And first, I would like to say, Google, I don't think I consent it to a lot of the information that you're putting out there. What I found on one of these sites, it's kind of like the white pages. I don't know if y'all I remember, I guess it's just for my millennials, OG 90s babies. Y'all remember how we used to get these huge books of yellow pages, and we also get the white pages, and the yellow pages was just for all the businesses in your area, and the white pages was just for everybody that lived in your city. They had their phone number and their first and last name. So yeah, they have the white pages online, and I just didn't think that I would be in the white pages, but lo and behold, there I was, and they were like, yeah, this is my address and this is my phone number, and you can have her phone number for a price, and you can have her email address for a price. And I just felt Google, I don't think you need to just hand serial killers, valuable information like that. And something was just well, I wonder what would happen if I was just to type my dad's name into this search engine, this website, And so I did. I typed in his name, and nothing came up. And so I was like, all right. But I thought that was strange, because it's the 21st century, and I feel like you can't live in today's society without having some type of digital footprint, So I texted my mom just to make sure that I had the correct spelling of the name. So I was like, hey mom, what's my dad's name again? And she texted me back, and she was like, his name is blah 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 blah. And I was looking at the phone but the name you just gave me is not the name that you've told me my entire life. What? And she was like, well, the name that I told you, that is his nickname. That's what his family calls him, and that is the name that he introduced himself as to me. But his legal name is da 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 da. So I was like, all right, thanks. Would have been nice to know all these 21 years, but whatever. So I typed in his name, his actual legal name, and his information popped up. That was his information just right. And of course, he's not the only one with that name out in the world. So I had to do some sifting out and using context clues of he has to be around the same age as my mom. Obviously he has to reside in the state of Connecticut, because I was born in Connecticut, so he has to live there. Do not come for my Philly card. I will fight you for it, okay? I do not claim Connecticut. I claim Philly, Philadelphia. That is the state that I am from. Yes. Philly, Philadelphia is a state. Pennsylvania, I don't know what y'all do. So I clicked on his name, and his information came up. It had his last known address and his age and potential relatives. And so I was like, okay, with this information, no, at the bottom it was has social media. It basically just said that he has some form of social media. And so I was like, all right, let me just go and check Facebook. And so, y'all, mind y'all, as I'm doing all of this, I'm not actually processing what I'm doing. I'm just doing stuff. Have y'all ever just done that? You're not really processing and understanding what you're doing, and you're just doing it. Because for me, I felt I was just playing. I was just playing, because at this point, I have gone 21 years without ever knowing what my father looks like. I've gone 21 years without ever hearing his voice, or just like, I've just gone 21 years without knowing this man. And at that point in my life, I had just become like, you know, it is what it is. I'm never gonna know. And so for me doing all this, I'm still thinking like it's a dead end. Like I'm not gonna find anything really. I went to Facebook and I typed in his name, and I kid y'all not, like his photo, like his profile was the first one to pop up. And I'm like, all right, so just because this is, you know, a black man with his name and, you know, his state don't mean like it's him. So I click on it. I click on it to like enlarge the profile photo. And the first thing I say, like the first thing I think to myself as I'm looking at this picture, I'm like, oh snap, like he looks like my brother. And then I just like sit and stare at the picture even more, and I'm like, oh shit, he looked like me. Sorry, Jesus. And like legit, I was just like staring. Like I felt like I was like in this state of like shock, you know, like because I'm looking at this man's picture and I'm just like staring at it, and I'm like, yo, those, like the eyes in this picture, like those are my eyes. Like, oh, those are my eyes. Like, oh my gosh. And if you know me, then you know one of my favorite like features about myself are my eyes. And I'm like, wow, holy moly. And then I just like start looking even closer, and I'm just like, those cheekbones are my cheekbones, and like that like nose is my nose, and like that forehead is like my forehead. The shape of his head, that's my brother though, I ain't get that. And I'm just like, I'm just really shocked, because for 21 years I like the question of like who I look like more, my mom or my father. 21 years, I just had this big question mark over this man's face. I never knew. I don't have any pictures of him. I don't have any pictures with him. I just have my mom. Well, I'm looking at this picture of this man, and I'm like pretty freaking positive at this point that this is my father. But you know, the only one that can really confirm that is my mom. So I like screenshot a picture and I texted to her, and I was like, you know, hey mom, is this my dad? Question mark. And she texts me back in like 2-3 minutes, and she's like, LOL, yes. Okay, hold on. Okay, first of all, mom, who taught you LOL? Because I ain't even teach you how to text. I'm surprised you know how to do that. I ain't teach you how to do that. So who taught you LOL first? Secondly, I think you're using it wrong, because this is not an LOL moment. This is not an LOL moment. Okay? Third of all, I feel like this is like something where you just call your child and you talk this out, you know? But all I got was an LOL yes. Like, what was funny? I finally sent him this friend request, and at this point, I'm just so emotionally like overwhelmed that I literally down an entire pint of Ben and Jerry's, half baked, because that's my fave, and I just go to bed. Like, I feel like I was Sherlock and I stumbled on to something I really don't even know if I wanted to find, but I found it. So I wake up the next morning, and he sent me some messages, and he's like, hi, good morning. Do you have a twin brother, and what's his name? What's your mother's name? And so I simply messaged him back. I was like, hey, good morning. You know, yes, I have a twin brother. This is his name, and this is my mother's name. And I'm like 99% sure that you are my father. Mark, I really feel like this is some type of like Oprah Winfrey, Dr. Phil, Ayana Von Zant, Mari Provich, fix my life type stuff, but not even all of them can fix my life. Like, yeah, I tell him, I'm like pretty positive that you are my dad. And so he just likes, he's like, oh my gosh, I have been looking for you for your entire life. Like, I'm so happy you have found me. Like, thank God. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like super freaking ecstatic that, you know, I found him. And, you know, the first thing I'm thinking is just like, you've been looking for me my entire life, but my nigga, I just found you in 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I know, but that's legit what I was thinking. That's legit what I was thinking, you know? Like, what? My entire life? I found you in 5 minutes with a Facebook search. I don't understand. I was just so like emotionally overwhelmed that I just felt like numb. I would say like one of the very first emotions that like I processed, other than like me, like one, I would say like I really did try to like build a relationship, like, you know, try to get to know him. But I was still doing that, moving in a state of shock. One of the first real emotions that I processed was, other than being overwhelmed and shocked, was anger. Like, I became very angry, and I feel like that anger had always been there, but because I didn't have like a face to place the blame, or like not even just the blame, I feel like because I didn't know what he looked like, I didn't know where to put that anger, so I just kind of like locked it up somewhere in my heart, or like, you know, stuffed it in the back of my mind. And really like seeing his presence and like seeing his face kind of like unlocked and unleashed all that anger that I had been feeling. So yeah, I was really mad. I got super pissed because one of the first things obviously I asked him was like, yo, what happened? Like, why weren't you there? Like, why weren't you there for any of those years? Why weren't you there in my life? And, you know, hearing his side of the story, and then like I have this side of the story from my mom, and that's what I've been fed for pretty much 21 years of life, and like these two stories just like weren't matching up. And so hearing what he had to say, and then going back and asking my mom, like, yo, like, mom, like, he said X, Y, and Z happened, but you saying A, B, C, D went down, so like, what's really the truth here? Like, what is the truth? Like, I don't care at this point. Like, we can't go back in time. We can't go back in time. So right now, what I really need from both of them is just to be honest. I need the 100% just honesty right now. Even if my mom has to say like, yes, you know, I messed up, I was angry, I let my emotions get the better of me, or even if my dad was like, yeah, you know, actually I was messing up, I wasn't around like I should have been. I just want the truth. And you know me, if you know me, like, you know what I value the most is truth. Like, don't ever lie to me. Don't ever lie to me. And I felt like both sides were trying to like, I feel like both sides weren't telling the full truth. And if you ain't telling the full truth, then you lying. And so I don't understand why both of you are lying, because you're trying to make yourselves look like the victim, when honestly, really the only people who were effed over and victimized in this situation were me and my twin. Because at the end of the day, when you have children, your own pettiness does not matter. What matters, your kids. Your kids matter. And my brother and I have been cheated out of having a dad. We have been cheated out of having all those experiences that all the other little kids got to have with their dads. We got cheated out of having our dad there, you know, just for everything. Like, my dad was not there to teach us how to ride a bike. He wasn't there to teach my brother how to throw a football. He wasn't there to teach me how to throw a football. He wasn't there to teach my brother how to fight. He wasn't there to teach me how to fight, you know? He wasn't there to talk to me about boys and like what I should and should not accept. And like he wasn't there to teach me how a man should love a woman. And he wasn't there to teach me how a woman should love a man. And these are all really big things that began to really affect me when I got older and I began dating, and when I got to college and I began wondering, like, who the hell am I? Like, there's just this other half of my identity that is just missing. And like, you know, it's like so annoying, and I feel like you only can understand this if you don't if like one of your parents aren't there, but like filling out questionnaires, like medical questionnaires, and like leaving this space where your father's name should be or your father's history should be blank because I don't know it. Or people ask me, like, you know, oh, like, does your paternal side have any history of this? I don't really know because I don't know my dad. I've never met him. Like, saying those words, I got used to saying those words, but though I got used to them, they hurt. They really do hurt. And I really feel like I didn't understand the weight of all of that until I found him and I began to feel like all these emotions, and like anger was like really at the front of it. So yeah, anger was the first one. I also got really angry because I found out that he had another kid after me and my brother, and he got married like twice. And I don't know, for me that kind of felt like him moving on with his life and, you know, having other children and getting married. That for me, it kind of, what am I trying to say? For me, it just felt like he was saying that us not being there didn't matter. And I know that probably sounds super selfish, but that's what I felt like, because I'm not a parent, but I would believe that if my child was missing, I'm going through hell and high water to find them. I don't care. Where is my child? But, you know, I understand that people have to survive and people, you know, should be happy, but that's how I felt. That's how I felt. I felt like him moving on was just like, you know, having 2 children out in the world where I don't know where they are. Okay, that doesn't really matter. So, what else did I feel? I felt grief. When I was younger, I would always like create these dream dads and like this fantasy world, and like my dad would be like this secret government agent that like saved the world from terroristic threats, and like he was working for B613, and like the reason why he couldn't be there because if he was there, then, you know, we'd be in constant danger, but he's a superhero, so he's out there saving the world, so, you know, it's okay. Or like, you know, I would imagine that my dad was like a firefighter and he's like helping people and he's being a good person and he's just like changing lives. Or sometimes I would imagine that he's a really successful businessman and like he would come and like make all of our money problems go away and just like, yeah, whisk us and save us from poverty. And, you know, I feel like when I found my dad and he was none of those things that I dreamt of, I was like disappointed. That may be super crabby to say, but I was disappointed that he just wasn't what I imagined, and I had to like now grieve the fantasy dads that I had created and that I kept in, you know, the back of my mind. I don't know, is that, and I don't know if I'm making sense, y'all, but that's like how I felt. So yeah, anger, and grief. And, you know, y'all know what happens. Well, what may happen sometimes when someone is super overwhelmed, or at least this happens to me, is that I shut down. So in me shutting down, I like shut him out. Like, it was just, I think it was like, I don't remember what he said to me, but it really pissed me off. And so I just decided, like, you know what? You're coming on too strong. your family is coming on too strong, because everybody from his side of the family started sending me friend requests. Everybody just started tagging my pictures and just like wanting questions and wanting to know all about my life. People to come, strangers to come at me and ask me like, oh, tell me about your life. Where's your siblings? I'm just like, you don't really have access to this information, nor do you deserve it, you know? So I just got really overwhelmed, and he pissed me off, and I just like shut him out. I was like, listen, I didn't even say anything. I just like stopped responding to his messages. I guess I ghosted my dad. Like stopped responding to his messages for like maybe a year and a half, 2. So I found him, I was a sophomore. It was my second semester, sophomore year of college, that I found him. And I really didn't begin to talk to him until like after I graduated. So like 2 years later, so like 2016, summer 2016. And like in between those 2 years, I would really try to make attempts to just like get to know him. But he would say things to me, and I felt like it was just like, I can't really see that, like really receive that, because I don't, that's foreign to me. Like he would say things like, you know, I love you, and I care about you, and I want to be in your life. And I'm just like, I think, you know, I feel like these are all things that a child will be happy to hear that their father is saying, especially when they grew up without their dad. But for me, it was just something that like I couldn't fully receive, and it felt foreign to me. And plus like my history with family had already been like really rocky, and so now I'm filtering all of his I love yous and I care about yous through my own past schemas and through my own past hurts that I haven't fully processed yet. And also for me, like, you're a stranger saying this to me, so it doesn't mean anything. So yeah, we would have those moments, and again I would get overwhelmed and I would like shut down and like not respond. 2016, I think what really happened for me is that I really began to pursue Christ. And I think even like, not even I think, I know even throughout those 2 years, though I wasn't speaking to my father, I was speaking about him and our relationship in therapy, and unpacking all of that, unpacking his absence, unpacking the disappointment, unpacking the hurt. And I just felt like, you know, the more and more as I began to pursue Christ, the more and more God taught me how to forgive. And so really what happened in 2016 is that I just like, I forgave my dad, you know, for not being there. I forgave him for just all the experiences that he missed out on. I forgave him really for just being absent. And God has had and has been working on me and accepting the fact that like, yo, you know, my dad was not in my life for a very specific reason. And sometimes, you know, I used to imagine him that he would come and be, you know, my brother and I's savior. But honestly, like, I really don't know what my life would have been like had he been in our lives. Like, he could have been a father that was in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And I feel like that is even more hurtful. Who's to say that he would have came in and made my life better, you know? And I know for sure that I wouldn't be as independent and as strong as I am now, and at the age that I had to be if he was there, you know? So just working through all of that forgiveness really helped me to just like begin to do small things. So instead of us like, you know, just only messaging on Facebook, I eventually gave him my phone number, and so now like he'll send me text messages, and sometimes I'll reply. Y'all, we ain't there yet. We ain't, and I don't know if we'll ever get there, but you know, baby steps. I have not met him in person yet. I have not spoken to him on the phone because there's a couple reasons. There's a couple of reasons why, and like one reason for me is just that, y'all, I have worked so hard for the life that I have now. I've had to fight through a lot for the peace that I have now, and I just don't want to do anything that would jeopardize that peace. And you know, my past histories with family, is not the most positive. And so I get really like shelled up or like walled off whenever people come around that, you know, says that they're family, or if I have some type of DNA, you know, shared with them. I just like, I've been taught to just guard myself. So, you know, I'm really hesitant to just like open myself up in that way, to be vulnerable with a person, to make space for him in my life, more than what I have now. And to just, because who's to say, like, you know, he won't disappoint, you know. And he's human, so I'm not asking him to be perfect. I'm just like very hesitant because I like my life. I like my peace, you know. I feel like that's like maybe like the biggest reason why, you know, I haven't taken a further step in pursuing a relationship with him. But part of me really wants to, because like, though my maternal side of my family has not been positive, who's to say that his won't be? Like, I don't want to, you know, charge them with the crimes that was committed by someone else or by some other else. That's not even proper English, but y'all know what I'm saying. And you know, I have like a grandma, and she's old, and like I never really had a grandma, and you know, I have a limited amount of time with her on this earth, and I do want to get to know her. I do want to get to see what she looks like and hear her stories, and like kiss her on her cheek, and like look at old family photos and know who my grandpa is. And I have a little sister, but like, you know, part of me does want to be that big sister for her. I'm just really hesitant, but I wanna be that. So these are like the constant battles that I'm like fighting all the time. Or just, I don't want to say all the time, but these are just like the things that are going through my mind. And you know, I'm never gonna have that relationship, that daddy girls relationship with my father, because too much time has passed. I'm already grown. I don't need any more raising. I didn't need any more raising when I found him. I was pretty much raising myself. So, you know, I've already like reconciled the fact that, you know, he's not gonna be able to put me up on his shoulders. He's not gonna be able to tell me about men. He's just not gonna be. It's not gonna be the traditional, you know, father-daughter relationship. But you know, it could be our version of relationship. It could be the relationship that God, you know, has for us. And I don't know what that looks like. So yeah, these are things like I like constantly just like, I take to God and I'm just like, Lord, you're gonna have to do this one, because I don't know. I don't really know. Yeah. So that's a story of like how I found my dad on Facebook, you know, and what our relationship is like now, and working through, you know, my daddy issues, which I didn't really realize I had until I found him. So yeah, that's it, y'all. There's so much more to this story, and like, you know, my growth and like healing from father wounds, that I'm going to talk about in later baggage episodes, but I feel like that was just a lot to unpack here right now. But I do want to leave off and say this one thing, and this is something that I am still going through, that I am still processing and accepting myself. For those of you that have grown up without a parent, one of your parents, whether that's your mother or your father, one thing that's really helped me is knowing that God has always been there. God is my first parent. He's my first father ever. Like he was my father before my earthly biological father ever was. And so I know that, like, though, you know, my physical father was not in my life, God has always been there. And I feel like sometimes for me that's so hard to rectify, but it's the honest. So this is like a to be continued, like, baggage part. Like, I feel like in this large 55-pound plus suitcase, we just kind of unzipped one compartment. So I'm gonna end this here. I'm so excited and happy and thankful that you tuned in for episode 2 of #baggage. And you know, okay, if you've never done this, I want you to Google yourself, and in the comments down below, tell me what comes up. Like, if you find yourself, tell me like what's out there about you, okay? So I'm going to sign off right here. I wish you all so much honey, salt, and light.